So let's take a look at creating a rights policy template. Now, remember with RMS, the Rights Management Service, we're trying to control what people can do with documents that we have secured using RMS. And the center of that is the rights policy templates. So what we'll do is we'll create policy templates and then we will publish documents using those policy templates which define what people are allowed to do and not do. So let me show you how this works. And we can only go partway through because I don't have a client computer set up here with RMS or applications that we can work with at the moment. So let me show you how we would set up a policy template that we would use to publish a document. So we go to Tools and Active Directory Rights Management Service. And when the Rights Management Service comes up, it's going to come up like this. And so here's our rights management cluster. And the name of the cluster and all of the licensing, certification, how we access it, cryptographic mode. So all the information about our cluster. And then down here are recommended tasks where we can establish trusts, and that's for trust relationships across domains or federation trusts. Set rights account certificate policies, manage policies. Okay, we can also access all of those from here. We just expand our cluster. Here are all of our trust policies. And you'll see we have trusted domains and trusted user domains, trusted publishing domains. So these are going to be the ones that hold the documents. These are going to be the ones that hold the users that are accessing the documents in the publishing domains. Federation identity support and gateway, that requires ADFS. Okay. The core of this is going to fall around these rights policy templates. So let's take a look at creating a distributed rights policy template. All right, so we're going to add a language. And for this, we're going to set, well, we're not adding a language, we're adding the template identification information. So we're going to specify which template we're working with, the name, and I'm going to say eyes only. And you have to set a description here. So I'm going to say use this template to ensure eyes only access. And click add. All right. So that sets my template identification. And then I can edit, remove, add more information to it. And click next. So what users are we going to give? And so this is going to work kind of like NTFS in that here we're going to set our users or groups. And here we're going to set the rights for those users. So I'm going to click add, and I can do anyone, or I can use an email address of a user or a group. Now that's the kicker here. We're using the email address of the user and group. And I can go ahead and search for users and groups here, or I can type in the address, or I can just say anyone. And for the moment, I'm going to say anyone. Now, obviously, I can put in multiple users and groups with multiple levels of permissions. So I could say eyes only, and I could say anyone only has certain permissions, but then I could add in somebody else who might have a higher level of permission. So permissions, I'm going to give view permissions, and you'll see the permissions here. Full control, view, edit, save, export, which allows you, so save allows you to save as the same name in the same location. Export is a save as. So that would allow somebody to save the file somewhere else. Other permissions include the permission to print, and then forward, reply, reply all are all email permissions. The ability to extract, which would allow you to copy and paste information out of a document, allow macros, view rights, and edit rights. Now, since this is eyes only, I'm only going to give permission to view. But there is another option down here. Grant the owner or the author full control right with no expiration. So they will always have this. And then we can set up a URL to request more rights. Now I can finish at any point here, but I'm going to go ahead and walk through the rest of them. So when does the content expire? So I can set that anything tagged with this either never expires, expires after a specific date, or expires after a following duration. So I'm going to say anything flagged with this, the access is going to expire after 14 days. Now, the owner still maintains permission. But after 14 days, after this document is published, everyone else's access to it expires, so nobody can see it. So that's content expiration. I can also expire the license. So the license, basically they request a license to use the information. I can have that license expire, which means they would then have to re-request that license. So notice right up here, if the if the use license expires or is not cached, the user must connect again to obtain a new license for the content, which is great if we think that this content the classification on it might change. All right, set extended policy. So we can enable users to view protected content using a browser add-on, or we can require a new use license every time content is consumed. Well, what this does is this disables client-side caching. So basically it takes this right here, expire after a following number of days. After the use license is expired, you have to request a new one. What this does is this puts it on steroids. You just can't cache your use license. There we go. So that is great because it means that you are constant. If you access content, let's say you access content and you try to cache it locally on your device, you disconnect your device from the network, you can't access that content again because you can no longer contact the RMS server. That's where you would disable client-side caching. Now, we made a reference to the RMS toolkit, which allows people to create applications that are RMS aware. Well, you can do custom settings in your RMS aware applications. And if you need to here, this is where you specify additional information for that RMS enabled application. All right, let's go ahead and click next. And then we specify a revocation extension. And if we're happy with all of that, we click finish. Now that this is available, when somebody goes to publish a document, and you have to do this inside your application. When somebody goes to publish a document using RMS, they can choose any one of these templates that we've made available, and then those settings get applied to that document. Okay, that is real quick overview of how RMS works. Now, hopefully one of these days I'll be able to put together a larger network and demonstrate a little bit more about it from the client side. But from an admin side, this is where you're going to want to go to configure your trust policies and your rights policies and all your other policies and settings here. With this one, your rights policies being kind of the core foundation of using RMS. Okay, so that takes you through step one of configuring your RMS policies.